Hi, this is Holden, and today I'm going to be chatting a little bit about what it's like to go through airport security as a trans person. So this video is both for trans people and also for allies. So maybe you're a trans person and you're preparing for a trip, and it's the first time since you started taking hormones, or first time since you came out. And for allies, maybe you're traveling with a trans person or you have a loved one who needs a little bit of support. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about that and give you some tips. So the first thing that'll happen when you get to the airport is that you'll have to show your ticket and your passport to the first security guard. This is assuming you just have carry-on luggage. So if the person's paying attention, the first thing they'll probably notice is that the picture doesn't match, if that's the case for you. If the picture doesn't match, then they'll probably notice the name and the gender. Otherwise, they probably won't notice, and they probably won't bother you. Depending on where you live, the reaction could range from something like, is this really you? To, this is obviously not you, I'm going to have to detain you. The last reaction won't happen most of the time. It happens more for trans women than it does for trans men or non-binary people. Other reactions could be, are you dead name? But that's blah 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 gender here. So that could happen too. So be prepared for that. Where I live in Germany right now, and when I'm traveling around Europe, it doesn't happen very often. Most people don't care, or sometimes the most reaction I'll get is this you? Or they'll take an extra look at me to make sure. But it doesn't happen very often for me anymore because I've changed my passport picture. And so I think that's the main reason that doesn't happen. But I'll get into that later. The next step at the airport will be going through the metal detector. This can be really annoying because if you have anything on your person, then the security personnel might need to give you a pat down. This can be super dysphoric because let's say you have a packer or you have something else in your body, it might show up on the screening machine. And then they might need to give you a pat down. That's why this happens more often to trans people than it does to cis people. If you end up getting a pat down, they will probably assign you to the person that they think your gender is. That has nothing to do with your gender. It's all about their perspective. So keep that in mind. I've gotten some comments before going through airport security. Very seldomly does it happen in Europe. I don't know about America. But just try your best to ignore it if you're a trans person. If you're an ally, feel free to step in and use your friend's pronouns. You don't have to say, my friend is trans or anything. Just try to use the correct pronouns and hopefully the security personnel will get the idea. Sometimes you can avoid getting a pat down. For example, for a long time, I wore my nice shoes to the airport because I like dressing up at the airport. But I realized that I kept having to get pat downs because I have nails in my shoes, for example. Also, if you wear a packer or if you wear something else on your person, then think about maybe not wearing that through security to the airport and then putting it on in the bathroom, just to avoid the pat down. The next step is another security guard. So this will be someone who's looking very intently at your passport and will probably ask you why you're going somewhere, where do you live, that kind of thing. This person really just cares about the safety of people. So the most they'll do is look at your passport for a long time. It'll make you really nervous. Try to just take some deep breaths. They'll look at your passport for a long time, maybe look at your picture, look at the name. They might ask, is this your real name? And just say, that's my legal name. So be prepared for that. They'll ask where you live, where are you going, just to answer everything really truthfully. If you feel nervous, which I don't blame you for feeling nervous, I still feel nervous, just try to answer everything honestly and calmly. If they see that you're getting nervous, they might think you're hiding something. And you're not. So just be prepared and have your answers ready, because you're not doing anything wrong. You're just going to the airport like any other person. So, some tips for getting through airport security with the least amount of hassle. So, first thing, if you can, if it goes with your plans, take a friend. Having another person can really neutralize the situation very quickly. If they're a cisgender person, then unfortunately, as our society works this way, the other person will listen to them more. And they can help you by asserting your pronouns. And you, ally, try to assert the person's pronouns even before the security personnel talk to them. You could use their current name, so not their legal name, but that can get really confusing. I've had that happen to me before, where I have a really awesome ally who asserts my new name. That's when the security personnel really get confused. So just try to use the pronouns, because they don't care about your current name. They just care about what's on the passport and if legally that is the same person. Another thing you can do is to update your passport. By that, I don't necessarily mean your name and your gender, although that's helpful, but that takes a really long time and it's really difficult depending on where you live. What I mean is update your passport photo, which takes much less time. It might cost some money because you need to get a new passport, but it can ease your travel a lot. Because like I said earlier, most of the time the security personnel are just looking at the photo and if the photo matches with the person, whatever that means. If they're looking at the name and the gender, they might ask you questions, but they probably won't if the photo looks like you do now. Another tip that I have for people specifically in Germany is that there's a specific ID card that you can get. It costs about 15 euros, and it's from an organization called dgti. So basically what you do, go to the link below, and then send dgti this form filled out, and then proof that you've sent them the amount of money that's at the link. And then they will basically magically in a couple of weeks give you a letter that explains what this ID card is and what you can use it for and all of these things. You can use it as proof if you need to show someone an explanation of what the card is. But you'll also get a plastic card which has a photo and it has your old name, so your legal or birth name, and then will also have your new name. And it will basically state that this person is a trans person, and to please respect the gender that is on this transgender ID card. And then it has sort of some information about how to respect this person in German and English and French. So it's really useful for traveling. What I do when I'm traveling is to immediately give that with my passport to the security personnel when it seems appropriate. And they read that for a little while. They're a little confused because they've probably never seen it before. And then they let me go. So the same thing will probably happen with you. I don't know if there's something similar in America. But if there is, then I will include a link below, or if you know of something, please comment below. Another thing, which I don't do as often now that I have the dgti ID card, but you can get a letter from your doctor. By that I mean your general practitioner or your endocrinologist, your psychologist, your therapist, whatever sort of doctor you have that can confirm that you are a transgender person. That sort of letter can help get you through the airport a little easier, especially if you're carrying hormone therapy. If you're carrying any syringes or anything like that, you legally should have a letter from your doctor saying that you're taking hormone therapy. They generally don't really care if it's all together. It just looks like any sort of medical equipment. For example, people with diabetes need to carry this type of equipment as well. But you should have the letter just in case. And having a letter from your therapist also helps in these situations. If anything, just to make you feel safer. So whatever makes you feel most calm going through the airport is what I suggest you do. So those are the tips that I have. But if you have any tips, either as a trans person or an ally, or as someone who works in an airport, please comment below. I would really appreciate your feedback and any sort of feedback you can give to other people in this situation. And if you have any questions, always feel free to ask me. You can either comment below or you can send me a message or an email. So hopefully this was helpful, and I'll see you next time.